Hello, students. How are you all doing? I hope all of you are doing really well. In today's class, we are going to continue reading the chapter Packing. So, in the previous class, we have seen that Jerome was taking pride in his packing skills. But when it actually came to packing, he did not do really well. He was clumsy, he was unorganized, but finally he was able to pack it at 10:05 pm. Now, only the hampers remain to do, and George and Harris has taken the responsibility of packing the hampers. So let's see whether they turn out to be better packers than Jerome or not. So let's start reading. It did. They started with breaking a cup. That was the first thing they did. They did that just to show you what they could do and to get you interested. So it did here means things became interesting, right? In the previous class, we have read that Jerome knew that soon the things are going to become interesting. So yes, they became interesting and they started the packing with breaking a cup. So that was the very first thing they did. Okay, forget about packing. They broke a cup and then they started to do rest of the packing. Then Harris packed the strawberry jam on top of a tomato and squashed it. And they had to pick out the tomato with a teaspoon. So Harris did not know that you can't keep heavy things on top of delicate items, isn't it? That's the rule of packing. If you keep some heavy things on top of something like a tomato, obviously it will be crushed, it will be squeezed. So that's the meaning of squashed. Okay. So they squashed the tomato and you can see in the picture that it has gone all over. And they had to pick out the tomato with a teaspoon. So with the help of a teaspoon, they started to collect whatever, had been, whatever have been squashed. And then it was George's turn. And he trod on the butter. So when the turn of George came, he simply stepped on the butter. I did not say anything, but I came over and sat on the edge of the table and watched them. So in this picture, as you can see, that Harris and George, they are busy packing, and you can see he has actually stepped on the butter. Can you see? And that there's butter on the floor and he has stepped on the butter. And Jerome is not saying anything because he knew the tables have turned. When Jerome was doing the packing, both Harris and George, they were mocking at him. They were making fun of him. That hey, you have not put the boots in. Hey, whether the soap was in or not. So now, Jerome did not say anything. He came over and he sat on the edge of the table and watched them. He was saying that let's see what he is doing. What they were doing. It irritated them more than anything I could have said. I felt that. It made them nervous and excited. And they stepped on things and put things behind them and then could not find them when they wanted them. And they packed the pies at the bottom and put heavy things on top and smashed the pies in. So they had really started to do disaster when they started to do the packing. Like I told you, they have squashed the tomato, and similarly, they have squashed and smashed the pies because they have put some heavy things on top of it. So Jerome did not say anything, but he just watched them. And this action of Jerome, that he was there and he was looking at their activities, it irritated them. It made them nervous because they also knew that they will not be able to pack. They upset salt over everything. And as for the butter, I never saw two men do more with 1 and 2 pence worth of butter in my whole life than they did. So they upset. Upset means overturn. They have put salt over everything. And as for the butter, like Jerome is saying, I have never seen two men doing so much, doing so much with just 1 and 2 pence worth of butter. Like very small quantity of butter, which is not very expensive, just 1 or 2 pence. In my whole life than they did. So what they did with the butter, we will see now. After George had got it off his slipper, they tried to put it in the kettle. It would not go in, and what was in would not come out. So you do remember that George had stepped on the butter, trod on means stepped on butter, and they have taken out the butter from his slipper, and he was trying to put the butter inside the kettle. I mean, that does not make any sense, isn't it? And that butter was not going in, and what was in was not coming out. So all those kind of situation of confusion, and they were really messing things around. They did scrape it out at last and put it down on a chair, and Harris sat on it, and it stuck to him. And they went looking for it all over the room. So finally, when they were successful at scraping out the butter, they have put it on the chair. And guess what? Harris sat on the chair. I mean, that's really disastrous. So Harris sat on the chair, and the butter stuck to him. And they went looking for it all over the room. So the butter was stuck to Harris, and they were looking for butter all over the room. So how will they find it when the butter itself is stuck in to Harris? I'll take my oath. I put it down on the chair, said George, staring at the empty seat. I saw you do it myself, not a minute ago. So I'll take my oath means he's to swear upon something. So he was so sure. He's saying, I swear upon myself that I have put the butter on the chair. Where has it gone? Where has it vanished? This was the statement of George. Now Harris is also supporting him. He's saying, yes, I saw you doing that. I saw it myself. And not even a minute ago. Right? Just a minute ago you have put it on the chair. So how will they find it, right? When Harris sat on the chair. Then they started round the room, again looking for it. And then they met again in the center and stared at one another. Stared means looking at someone or something for a longer period of time, fixedly. So they have started to look for the butter again in the room. They were taking rounds of the room, and they again met in the center and stared at one another. Most extraordinary thing I ever heard of, said George. So mysterious, said Harris. So both George and Harris really found this incident mysterious. Mysterious means difficult or impossible to understand. They were like, where could have the butter gone? It was kept on the chair just a minute ago. So they were really stunned. Where is the butter? Extraordinary means very unusual or remarkable. So they have never seen something like this. They have never heard of something like this, that the butter was kept on the chair just a minute ago and it is nowhere to be found. Then George got round at the back of Harris and saw it. Why, here it is all the time, he exclaimed indignantly. It means showing anger or annoyance at what is regarded as unfair treatment. So you think that, oh, the butter was here. George finally found the butter. It was stuck to Harris's dress. Here it was. Here the butter was all the time. And look at us, how we were looking for the butter all over the house. You can see the butter was stuck to the dress of Harris. Where? Cried Harris, spinning around. So he's spinning around himself. Stand still, can't you? Roared George, flying after him. So he really got angry George really got angry saying, "Can't you stand still? See, here's the butter." And they got it off and packed it in the teapot. Montmorency was in it all, of course. So here we get to know about a new character in the story, which was Montmorency. Now let's see. Montmorency's ambition in life is to get in the way and be sworn at. Sworn at means to get scolded. Who is Montmorency? It's a dog, the pet dog of the author and his friends. So they knew that Montmorency was in it all. He is a very naughty dog, and his ambition, the ambition, everybody has ambition in life, right? So what was Montmorency's ambition? Is to get in the way and be scolded. If he can squirm in anywhere where he particularly is not wanted and be a perfect nuisance and make people mad and have things thrown at his head, then he feels his day has not been wasted. So it's really funny, isn't it? That, first let me tell you the meaning of squirm. It means to wriggle or twist one's body. So Montmorency, he has a habit of, creating nuisance. He really likes to make people mad, and he loves that people will throw things at his head. Then he feels that, oh, what a day. What a lovely day. My day is such successful. My day has not been wasted. I was scolded, I was beaten, things were thrown at me, I made people mad. So this is really funny that how this dog, Montmorency, he wanted to irritate people. He wanted to make people go crazy, isn't it? Have you seen some pet dog or any other pet like this? Have you? Like I have not seen in my life. Okay, students, let's read. To get somebody to stumble over him and curse him steadily for an hour is his highest aim and object. So stumble means to lose balance and fall. So he wants that somebody should stumble. Somebody should lose balance and fall over him and curse him steadily. So what will happen if you get angry at someone? You curse them, right? You go mad at them. So if somebody stumbles over him and curses him steadily, it means non-stop for an hour. This is his highest aim and object, okay? And when he has succeeded in accomplishing this, this conceit becomes quite unbearable. Conceit means his pride in himself. So he takes pride. Oh, I'm such a lovely dog. I make people stumble over me. My life is all set. I can make people go mad. They will throw things at me. They will shout at me. And he takes pride in himself. He's very proud of himself. That I am such a, notorious dog. I make people go mad. It's really funny. He came and sat down on things just when they were wanted to be packed. And he labored under the fixed belief that whenever Harris or George reached out their hands for anything, it was his cold, damp nose that they wanted. So he was creating trouble even when they were doing the hampers. They were packing the hampers. So whenever George and Harris, they stretched their hands out to pack something. Suppose they wanted to pack the bread. So he will bring his cold, damp nose and they will not be able to reach out to the bread. Rather, they will touch his cold, damp nose. So, Montmorency has started to create trouble, disturbance, when both George and Harris were doing the packing hampers. He puts his leg into the jam and he worried the teaspoons and he pretended that the lemons were rats. So he was, as I told you, Montmorency was a very naughty dog, isn't it? He put his legs into the jam and he worried. Worried means disturbed. So he disturbed the teaspoons and he pretended. Pretended means to show that something is true when it's not that. It's not like that. So he pretended that lemons were rats and got into the hamper and killed three of them before Harris could land him with the frying pan. So he's really, the dog. He's pretending that the lemons are rats. And he went into the hamper and he killed three of the rats, which is nothing but the lemons, before Harris could land him with the frying pan. So you can see in the picture that how Harris has come with a frying pan to beat him, to scold him, to get him out of the way. Because he's creating so much of chaos and confusion in the hamper. And all the things are lying out here and there. He is disturbing the teaspoons. He is pretending the lemons are rats. He is really, creating nuisance. Okay, let's continue. Harris said, I encouraged him. So according to Harris, Jerome encouraged Montmorency to go and disturb them. I did not encourage him. A dog like that does not want any encouragement. Encouragement means the action of giving someone support. So George and Harris thought that Jerome is encouraging Montmorency to disturb us so that we will not be able to pack the things properly. It's a natural, original sin that is born in him that makes him do things like that. So according to Jerome, a dog like Montmorency does not need any kind of encouragement because he is born with that. It's very natural for him, to disturb others, to make nuisance, to get scolded. This is very natural. He doesn't need any kind of encouragement. Okay. The packing was done at 12:50. So the previous packing was completed by Jerome at 10:05. Now they have taken some more time and the hampers were done at 12:50. And Harris sat on the big hamper and said he hoped nothing would be found broken. So you can see how, this is a very stupid act by Harris. He sat on the big hamper which contained food and other eatables. So obviously, if a heavy man will sit on the hamper, things will be broken, things will be damaged. But then Harris is saying that, I hope nothing would be found broken. George said that if anything was broken, it was broken, which reflection seemed to comfort him. He also said he was ready for bed. So George said it was really nice of George saying that, okay, what's broken is broken. We don't have to worry about it because what's done, it's done, isn't it? He also said he was ready for bed. Now, he wanted ready for bed means he needed sleep. He wanted to sleep. We were all ready for bed. Harris was to sleep with us that night and we went upstairs. Upstairs means they were climbing up the stairs. So that is upstairs. And when you come down the stairs, that is downstairs. We tossed for beds and Harris had to sleep with me. So they tossed that who should Harris sleep with, whether he should sleep with George or whether he should sleep with Jerome. So conclusion was that he will be sleeping with Jerome. He said, do you prefer the inside or the outside, Jay? So do you want to sleep on the inside of the bed or the outside of the bed? Right? There are two sides of bed. So one is called inside and the other one is called outside. I said, I generally prefer to sleep inside a bed. Harris said it was odd. Odd means different to what is expected or strange. So according to Harris, he thought that people would prefer to sleep outside a bed. And nobody generally wants to sleep on inside a bed. So according to Harris, Jerome's preference of sleeping inside a bed was little strange. George said, what time shall I wake you fellows? Fellows means friends. Okay, so he's saying that, what time should I wake you all up? Harris said, 7. I said, no, 6, because I wanted to write some letters. So they are, having an argument like, no, we want to wake up at 7. But Jerome is saying, no, I want to wake up at 6 because he had to write some letters. Harris and I had a bit of a row over it, but at last split the difference and said 6:30. Wake us at 6:30, George, we said. So Harris and I had a bit of a row. Bit of a row over it means they had some kind of argument. Both are putting their opinions that why they want to wake up at 7, why Jerome want to wake up at 6. They have a little bit of argument. But finally, they had split the difference, which means that they have settled down in the halfway. Okay, it was neither in the favor of Jerome, neither in the favor of Harris. Rather, they have come to a conclusion in between. They have split the difference and they agreed that they will wake up at 6:30. George made no answer, and we found, on going over, that he had been asleep for some time. So George had, he had sleep because maybe he was very tired, so he got to sleep soon. So they have placed the bath in front of George's bed so that when he wakes up in the morning, he will tumble into it, and they wanted to disturb him. So that was the intention. These friends were very naughty, and after doing this, they went to bed themselves. So they went to sleep. So this was the end of the chapter. And we can see that students, both Harris and George, they wanted to do the Pampers, and they were very sure that they will do a better job than Jerome. But certainly they failed miserably. They had caused destruction, they spread things all over, they squashed and smashed tomatoes and pies everywhere, they, upset the salt. So they couldn't do the job of packing really well. Neither did Jerome. Jerome used to, very proud of his packing skills. But we saw that he also did not know how to do packing in a very organized manner. So this was a very, humorous account of 3 friends when they were packing and they wanted to go for a trip. Okay, so let's discuss the question answers from your book. The first part is, discuss in pairs and answer each question below in a short paragraph, which is 30 to 40 words. How many characters are there in the narrative? Name them. Don't forget the dog. So yes, dog certainly is a very important part of the story. So can you tell me how many characters are there? Yes, there are 4 characters in the narrative. They are Jerome, who is the narrator, George, Harris, and Montmorency, the dog. Why did the narrator, Jerome, volunteer to do the packing? Jerome volunteered to do the packing because he felt that he knew more about packing than any other person living. Moreover, he thought that he would get a chance to boss the job. How did George and Harris react to this? Did Jerome like their reaction? George and Harris reacted very different from what the author had wanted them to. When Jerome said that he would do the packing, they readily accepted the suggestion, isn't it? So they were very fine with the decision of Jerome. They did not really mind it. George spread himself over the easy chair and Harris cocked his legs on the table. No, Jerome was irritated at their reaction. So he did not like their reaction. Rather, he was irritated. What was Jerome's real intention when he offered to pack? Jerome's real intention was to boss the job. He wanted that Harris and George should work under his guidance and instructions. But they accepted the proposal and sat idle on the chairs comfortably. Okay, the next question. What did Harris say after the bag was shut and strapped? Why do you think he waited till then to ask? Okay, so after the bag was shut and strapped, Harris said, "Ain't you going to put the boots in?" He waited till then to ask the question so as to irritate Jerome, to make him realize that he is not a good packer. He left the boots outside. What horrible idea occurred to Jerome a little later? The horrible idea that occurred to Jerome a little later was if he had packed the toothbrush. The narrator says that he does not know why he would always forget whether he had packed his toothbrush or not. Where did Jerome finally find the toothbrush? So do you remember I told you that he was shaking everything out to find where his toothbrush are? Jerome tried his best to find the toothbrush. He unpacked the bag but could not find it. He put the things back one by one and held everything up and shook it. At last he found it inside a boot. Why did Jerome have to reopen the packed bag? The answer is Jerome had to reopen the bag because he found that he had packed his spectacles in it and had to reopen it. Next question. What did George and Harris offer to pack and why? So remember, they offered to pack the hamper. George and Harris offered to pack the hamper. George said that he and Harris would better do the rest of the packing and let Jerome take some rest. So students, this was the end of the discussion of the questions given in your book. And I really hope that all of you have understood the chapter, you have enjoyed it, as it is really interesting and humorous one. Right? So I hope that you are not like George, Harris or Jerome, and all of you are really good packers and organized one. So we'll meet in the next class. Till then, bye and take care.